Hello YouTube, Damo_23 here and welcome back to another video on the YouTube channel. In today's video, it's of course another FPL related video and it's going to be relating to my Game Week 4 thoughts, Game Week 3 recap, and of course, maybe a future couple transfers that I'm planning in Game Week 5 and Game Week 6. Since we last met, I've come back home from playing poker in Queensland. Yes, we did win a trophy, and thank you to all that. Definitely sent me some congratulation messages after getting said trophy. Secondly, obviously I've watched Game Week 2 and Game Week 3 now, and we can recap what's gone on there. And in today's video, we're going to discuss what I'm going to do with Salah. I've already made an early transfer, and what am I going to plan on do with a couple of these midfielders, Pedro, you name it, as well. Without further ado, if you do like the episode, give it a like, do subscribe to the YouTube channel, and a big thank you to everybody who watched the last video. It got to 100 views. I am over the moon with that for a very small content creator. Absolutely love it. If I could request one thing, leave a comment down below about what your team's doing. I'd love to help you guys out as well by leaving a message back for you guys to read. Being a small content creator, really do think I can help you guys out. Now, first things first, you guys want overall rank, so 150k at the moment. If we go by game week history, great start. Mediocre game week 2. Game week 3 though, pretty good. And if you're getting inside the top 700k each game week, you're going to go close to winning FPL. So with that being said, very, very, very happy with what I'm doing there. Now, if we go back to my team here, we got 61 points, pretty good game week. We're going to discuss the players of note, and we're going to discuss who got points, who didn't, and then we're going to discuss what I'm going to do transfer-wise in the future using FPL Fantasy Football Hub, which, by the way, is having a moment. They're not updating data. And we're going to discuss what maybe some future transfers look like here as well. I understand Game Week 3-4 recap, the one that we were 100 views last episode, which is all in the playlist if you want to go back and see my thinking and my documentation of my season, was filmed pre-going to Queensland. It's now been 10 days since that video. So, I know I uploaded a video in between that I filmed 10 days ago and that came out about 5 days ago. We got a bit more of a clearer picture in what I'm going to discuss in this video. First things first, I want to tell you about the double Chelsea defence, the pros and cons. The pros, and the reason why I went with Cole, is when Chilwell is going to be owned by more people in the game, which we've quite clearly seen, that his price has been rising massively. Cole is going to pick up that, double Chelsea clean sheet during these runs, which should be quite a good thing, as you can see there. And it allowed for us to really capitalise on a good fixture run for Chelsea with a lot of clean sheets. The bad part about this is that the Cole pick has blocked me out from maybe having another 4.5 mil like your doggy there, who got 12 points. So maybe a bit of hindsight, because we did have your doggy in a lot of my plans. Being a big Ange fan, I knew that the fullbacks for Spurs are going to be fantastic. And secondly, what it could do is create issues down the line if I want to somehow get to Sterling and Jackson, if I want to double up on the Chelsea attack during this fixture run. So there is pros and cons. I'm still really happy I have Cowell, because it doesn't mean that, even though if I want to go double Chelsea attack, I'm pretty locked in. The only other thing I will say is Malo Gusto looks like a great pick if Reece James is out long term. I might even still pivot from Cowell to Reece James, even though that's very sideways. Going to also speak about Pickford quickly. Everyone's going, it's Pickford. They have Sheffield this week. After this, I want to discuss maybe the potential moving from Pickford to Areola and to Turner. I have 0.5 in the bank. That will give me $1 million in the bank, depending if Pickford goes down in price or not. Fantasy Football Hub's price change table is out, so is out of order. His price is still 4.5. Not a fan of goalkeeper transfers, but I will say if Pickford looks like he's going to go down before the end of this window, I might make my 2 free transfers as 2 transfers to avoid price decreases, which is not something I would recommend, but it's more because I'm very happy with the team. And I'm going to discuss who the other one is in just a little bit. Estupiñán, I don't think we need to speak about too much. He's there for attacking returns. Brighton have looked leaky, but we know what he can do. You saw it the last game week beforehand. Not going to speak too much. The midfield we need to speak about, because there is options in what I could do with my transfers. There's even the potential of me taking a hit, even though I don't want to, if I really want Nicholas Jackson in. But I'm going to discuss what we're going to do. First thing first, Maddison. I understand a lot of people are antsy on him, or maybe removed him or put him first sub or whatever. For me, if he's semi-fit, he's going to play because he's so integral to what Spurs do. In the end, he was pretty fit, so he played 70-odd minutes, got the goal. I'm going to recommend to these guys now, get this guy in during this fixture run. Now everyone's looking at Sterling. Don't get me wrong, I think Sterling looks great when he's running and is direct at people, but I'd rather have the main man in the team, which is Maddison for Spurs, who's linking up everything, than having the guy that, is decent, but they have other options in that attack. You know, they got Nicholas Jackson, who could be the main man. They got, I don't know, anyone that, like Ben Chilwell was basically playing left wing that was creating. And look, he should have scored on the weekend. He should have shot at least in that one big chance inside the penalty spot, around the penalty spot. But I'd rather have Maddison, who's linking up everything, getting into the box, and, you know, I think he's someone that actually you bring in now and leave in your team till game week 38. I think he's that good. Mbeumo doesn't need to be spoken about too much. We know what we want. 6.5, blanks are going to happen. He will score goals. He'll get assists. I'm not worried. There is potential to maybe move Mbeumo to a Diaby, who looks fantastic again for Villa, and someone on my personal watch list. And then let's discuss the Saka, Bruno, and Salah, because up until this week, everyone wanted to get off Bruno. United look horrid, yada, yada, yada. Never sell a good player before a very good fixture. Yes, I know United didn't look good defensively, but we don't care about that. Bruno in the first couple of weeks has looked fantastic. No one's finished. He should have scored against Spurs. We missed that open header from 5 yards. You know, if one of those chances go in, or one of the good passes he played in game of one, he got 0.71 XG against against Wolves. Love to show you this data, but Fantasy Football Hub's down at the minute. What it basically means is Bruno is going to get points, and I think Bruno will get points and accumulate points throughout the year. So I'm not selling Bruno. I know there is a difficult fixture run right now for him. If you're ever going to sell him, it's now for the next 2 game weeks. But I will say Arsenal haven't been themselves defensively, and they have a couple of injuries. And I will say Brighton have looked so leaky that I think if anyone's going to get points from United, it's Bruno or Rashford. And at the moment, I think Bruno's the better of the 2 picks, because you just don't know what role Rashford's playing. He's playing up front or off the left, and what's best for him, etc. So Bruno's not being sold, because in my last video, which was done 10 days ago, but I was preempting the future, I was saying if Bruno blanks, he might be the one that I move to a Diaby or someone else, right, to free up funds. The other person I mentioned in that video was Salah. Now, Salah, right, is someone that I said, look, if he doesn't perform well against Bournemouth, I'll take him out for Newcastle. There's 2 sides to this coin. The first side is he only got 5 points and you captained him, so it was 10. It was more than Haaland, but hey, he missed the penalty again. You know, we're lucky that he put the rebound in for points, etc. Or you look at it the other way. I kept him because he returned, and he returned again against Newcastle, which yet again, Salah, we were down to 10 men for a long time, being a Liverpool fan. You know, he didn't look like he was going to get a return, and then it's one moment of magic. It's a great touch or a great shift onto his left foot with a great weighted ball, and Darwin finished with a plum. This is a guy that is accumulating fantasy points, even without him being at 100%. I will say it's more looking like assist threat than goal threat, but as things stand, if he was to average out 5 points per game, he gets to 190 points. Same thing for Maddison, he gets to 190, and if Bruno, you know, gets to his, you know, expected XGA levels, he's going to get to around 190. If you're going to have 3 guys long term that are going to get to about 190 points, you're going to get close to winning FPL. So, with that being said, Salah is not someone I'm planning on selling, even though my last video I said I would. The other reason for this is, up until game week 13, the fixtures for an attacking sense are really good. And it is Salah, so, you know, fixture-proof, kind of. Villa are pretty good, but we saw what happened to him in game week 1. Wolves are Wolves. West Ham is interesting, because I want to speak about West Ham in depth in a second. Spurs will be open. Brighton will be open. Everton's Everton, Forest is Forest. Luton, you captain him, I think, over Haaland, depending on what the game week 11 looks like. You could arguably captain Salah against Everton of how bad they've looked as well. With that being said, if there's potential couple of game weeks that you're looking to captain him, it's either you move him out now to get Jackson in and then pivot back off Jackson to Salah back in the game week 9, which is an option. Because it means you miss Villa, you miss West Ham, you miss Spurs, you miss Brighton. But with that being said, it's Mohamed Salah. And with that being said, Spurs, Brighton are going to be so open, I actually think you keep him now. Let me know what you would do here. The 2 options is sell him now to free up funds. And I'm telling you right now, if I sold him, it would be for Diaby, because I think he looks incredible. And that would allow me to get Jackson in. That would be for a hit, because I've already made 1 transfer this week, which I'll tell you what that was about. The last one I want to speak about is actually Saka. Now, Saka, obviously, last game week, which I was away for and watched against Palace, didn't take the pen. He's not on penalties. That's not good. That's the reason why we got him. Is Odegaard now the option for Arsenal? All the questions go through your head. Then against Fulham, he gets a penalty, he takes it and he scores. I think out of all the Arsenal assets, he is the one that you can keep. Now, the thing I will say here about Saka is it's not been the same Arsenal. And with that being said, they've got United next, which I think there'll be goals, and if there's going to be goals, it's Saka. You're not selling him before Everton. Spurs, Bournemouth, City, and Chelsea aren't as easy as it sounds. Bournemouth made life hard for us and they'll press, but it's Bournemouth that probably score. Spurs are Spurs. We don't know what we're going to get. It will be open, but maybe, they keep a clean sheet. They're Spurs, who knows. City, Chelsea, decent, right? There might be a world where Saka's the one that makes way for us to make a couple of transfers down the line. Because we need to start thinking about how do we get Trippier in in a couple of games when Newcastle fixtures switch. We need to start thinking about maybe Ollie Watkins because Aston Villa's fixtures start to become good. But there's obviously other issues in my team right now. I don't think that midfield 5 is the issue. I also don't think that back 3 is the issue. We don't know how long Botman's out for, which was my last transfer. I made 1 transfer, so I have 2 free transfers this week. I've already made 1 as a bit of a luxury move. Now we have to speak about the front 2. Now, Haaland, we don't need to speak about him. Yes, he blanked, but everybody captained him against Sheffield. Actually, someone in my Discord, I don't know if he went through with Burger, but he did mention, when I had that, in FPL, that's me being happy, last minute thoughts, I'm thinking about triple captaining Haaland before Sheffield. Brave move if he did it. Didn't pay off. Highly recommend it. Double captain someone in a double game week or triple captain someone in a double game week. Don't mind Erling Haaland. Now, I would love to have another Man City asset, don't get me wrong, Phil Foden, for instance, or a defender, but not something I want to speak about. Pedro's the one I want to speak about. Now, Pedro's got a hard fixture run. Pedro is someone that hasn't started the last couple. Pedro's someone that needs to be replaced and removed. However, with my lack of funds, I can only get to a 6 mil option, and yes, there is Archer there, which I want to speak about. With that being said, how do you remove Pedro from this team? I don't think you do unless I make the move of selling Saka or Salah. With the fixture run and Salah's returned in his last 3, I think Salah stays. If Salah blanks against Villa, it could be knee-jerky, but I couldn't remove him the next game week. Pedro wouldn't play for me this week against Newcastle, so it leads me into what my transfer's been. In terms of transfers, I'm going to show you what I've done right now. Also, you guys probably don't know, but, this is a paid league. I'm first, paid league. I'm second. I actually lost to JS, so shout out to JS, lost to you by a point, and I won here as well. I've got the most points in this league, and I managed to lose last week to a guy that, had a bit of an interesting team. 150k overall rank, which you guys are happy with. Let me go into my team. Now, this team that I've picked right now, as I made the one move, and it was Mbama to Archer. You might be thinking, David, what? Why? How have you removed a 4.5 for a 4.5? Before the price rise Fantasy Football Hub, just crashed out of nowhere today, Mbama was at an 89% decrease, which means he's more than likely to drop to, maybe he's dropped to 4.4 now. Here's Mbama. No, still at 4.5, but he's come down from 12 to 9.1. If he goes down that slightly more, he's gone to 4.4. Now, why Archer, Damien? There is a reason for Archer. First things first, he has got the number 10 shirt at Sheffield. I read into this as someone that means he's coming in, he spent 18 mil, he's nailed, and he's someone that I think will play up front for Sheffield and be the talisman. Now, does that mean he's going to be Taiwo Adeyemi, Nottingham Forest levels? Probably not. Is he someone that will score goals? Given the right circumstances, yes. He's also someone that plays Everton this game week, which I know I have Pickford in goal, but considering we're not getting any returns from Pickford, I actually think Archer comes in, plays over Pedro, starts on his debut for Sheffield, and is someone that we will use in those good game weeks. So for me, against Everton, he plays. And then against Spurs, Newcastle, West Ham, we bench him. And then against Fulham, he probably plays for me. Against Wolves, against Bournemouth, against Burnley, he's someone that because he will be starting, because he's wearing the number 10 shirt, I'm going to play. It also means we don't have a dead 4.5 that's not playing. Now, there's another option out there, which is Semenyo from Bournemouth. If we go with Semenyo, there we go, who has played the last 2, got a goal against Liverpool, and their fixtures start to turn in game week 8, 9, and 10. I think what we're going to do is eventually, depending if Pedro's going to drop in price this week or not, once this comes back to life, is Archer's going to go and come in, as I've done. Pedro's going to go to Semenyo, right, which frees up a mil, and all of a sudden with 0.5 in the bank, I'm then going to get I'm going to get 1.5 in the bank, depending if a price drop happens, might be 1.4 in the bank. And that's going to allow me down the track to move a Stupian or or a Chilwell or even Colwell, to maybe the likes of a Trippier. Now, Trippier is at 6.5. He's only on 4 points this season. It's not been great. But after game week 6, the fixtures do turn. They are a good defence. I expect Newcastle to still do well. Now, that means that we need to find 2 mil here, which I'll be already to 1.5, which means it's only just a small move from Saka or, someone like that downwards. And it will give me money. But by doing Pedro down to Semenyo will give me the funds nearly to get Trippier. The other thing I'm thinking of doing is going Areola, who's at 4.1, to Pickford to say 0.4. Now, I know that we're losing out a touch of money here on Areola because he's picked up by everybody, but Areola has some decent fixtures. They got Luton this week, which means if I make the move, he plays for me. Great. They got Sheffield coming up. They got 2 hard games against City and against Liverpool, but Turner, right, in these 2 hard games has got Burnley, and then we just toss a coin against United, right? And we still get Luton again from Turner. Areola has got some decent ones. Sheffield, Villa, and Newcastle. We can bench him. Then he gets Everton. So the fixture swing isn't too bad. Also means post, my wild card, which will be around here, I'm still going to get the likes of Forest, Burnley, and Palace, which is not bad for a keeper. I really do think that's the move I'm going to make, is eventually Areola for Pickford. Now, that gives me 0.9 mil in the bank. If I was then eventually to do this, now I'm not going to confirm any of this at all, right? That's going to give me 1.9 mil in the bank. All of a sudden, I'm 0.1 mil, I'm 0.01 off Trippier from going Colwell. I get to Trippier if I want to remove a Stupian, right? If I, wanted to go another way, if I'm Fernandez or Saka's really poor or there's an injury, I can do it. It's not too bad. I could also make all these moves right now, take my negative 4-point hit, so then I can roll next week and still have 2 free transfers for when I want to bring them in, because maybe someone else becomes an option. The pro to this is that I make money. I, avoid a couple price drops in Pickford. I've already avoided the Mabama price drop by getting in Archer. And there's also where I think that if Semenyo and Archer do score a couple of goals in the coming game weeks, their price will rise. And that will allow me to have higher team value for when I do wildcard. The con of this is that it makes it very hard to get to Watkins or Jackson, because I got 2.45 mils with Haaland, but I get 2 playing 4.5 mils, which I think is awesome. What it also means, I can keep Salah long-term till that wild card. And then once I get out my wild card, I can probably go to something a little bit more template until we get to the game week 27, 28, 29, where he's looking the free hit, wild card, bench boost, you name it. But I really do think that this is the way that I'm thinking of doing it. Now, we're not going to do this right now. As it stands, this is my team. The AI, even though it's not loading up properly, is still telling me to sell Saka for Foden and sell Pedro for Wissa as my 2 free transfers. Which, by the way, I think Wissa's a fantastic pick. They also want me to get rid of Botman, but we don't know how big that injury is. If I was to go to my team and pick my team, right, Archer still comes up here because it hasn't been uploaded, right, as a Villa player, right? But I would still play Archer over Joe Pedro. Right, game's going to tell me it's an 88 game week rating. I think it's a little bit higher than that because Everton have been so poor, saying that he's playing Liverpool not getting a game, so it does impact. The next game week, we go to game week 5, right? And we got this one. Now, Archer doesn't play Palace. Archer will be playing Spurs, which isn't the worst. Pedro's playing there, but what I could do is actually go one up front and go Brentford for Botman, which could work out and could not, because it means Mbemo and Botman are playing each other. What it also means is that we've got Turner against Burnley, and with my next free transfer, it's Areola not in just yet to play against Man City. So it's Areola in for Pickford with my 1 free transfer, or it's Semenyo in against Chelsea, which I don't think is the option. Which means that we could go the other way. It doesn't really matter which one we do. Next week's probably a luxury transfer. So what it means at the moment is I've made my 1 change for Archer, who starts this week, who plays against Pickford, which is unfortunate. If Pickford doesn't keep a clean sheet, we sell him straight away for Areola because Turner's going to play no matter what, right? With that being said, the next game week, depending on what happens with Pickford. Depends if we're bringing in Areola. Let's say we do bring in Areola, right? Let's go Pickford out and Areola in, right? Turner plays. Save that. We'll probably play Botman. Depending on how Archer looks, maybe we play him against Spurs and just try and take the attacking return, knowing that Spurs can concede. We might do it that way. Let's do that for now. And then in game week 6, it leaves us in a precarious position again. Now, it's not too precarious, but what it does do is mean that we can play Botman if fit against Sheffield, right? If fit. Cowell is at... Cowell's here. Not too bad. Semenyo will definitely come in now for Pedro. I know they got Bournemouth, but, you know, from what we've seen, is he won't start. We need him to start. Semenyo can play against Bournemouth because we know that that's a great fixture, right? And what it does mean is with 2 mil in the bank, Cowell, now, it hasn't taken in the price rise here, but if it works out perfectly, we could move to Trippier if there's been a price rise from one of these players. Which, if Cowell gets another clean sheet, I see him going to 6.6, could see him going up. It's not at the realms of possibility that this is what the team is with no money in the bank. It's Areola, Turner, Trippier, Cowell, Botman, Stupian. If Botman's out long term, I'm moving him to a 4.0 to allow me to get Trippier up anyway, or Malo Gusto, and we get close. But it's not too bad. It also means that that midfield does not change, which it could do. There's also the world where Spurs sign a striker that could become relatively cheap and we could move to as well. So there's a lot of options going on. Basically, in short, what I'm planning is Archer's in from Obama to start this week against Everton because they look so poor. Archer's in long term to provide cover for Joe Pedro. If he does not start the next 2 weeks, he's going to go. Semenyo is probably going to come in for Pedro to allow me funds to move one of Cowell up to Trippier. And if we fall short by 0.1 mil, depending on how Brighton look and if a Stupian's been blanking and they still look like conceding, it's a Stupian up to Trippier because we'll be able to afford either way. What it also means is we can keep Salah to game week 13. That's where I'm eyeing off my wild card. It also means Maddison's going to stay long term. And Bremo's obviously going to stay long term with his fixture run. Bruno looks fantastic, so I'm not selling him. Saka could be the one that we pivot to Diaby to free up funds for Trippier. That's my thinking at the moment. I know that's been wordy. I know that's been 23 minutes of a lot of talk. I'd like to say thank you for sticking around. Give the episode a like. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. If those plans look a little bit funny to you, it's because I'm a weird guy. But I really do think with Salah returning in his last 3 and with the fixture on Liverpool have, you probably need to hold him. With what Bruno's doing, you need to hold him. Haaland did we trust. Pickford needs to go. Kobo I'm happy with keeping. Eventually we need Trippier. I think we're doing okay. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you and have a great one. Bye.